Hey, thanks for tuning in. I am Prudy. Welcome to my podcast. Some of you may have known me through social media, and for those who do not know me, I am Prudy, 25 years old. I'm a graphic designer, and I am a Dalit. My caste is Madhika, one of the scheduled castes in India. So, today I wanted to discuss on freedom. What do Indians in general know about freedom? What is the idea of freedom that the usual population has in India? If we look at history, we have freedom fighters such as Gandhi, Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, Rajagopalachari, Madan Mohan Malaviya, and many others. Not but the general population of India considers these people as the freedom fighters. And if we look at what they fought for is power, money, and greed. They did not fight for equality. They did not fight for freedom for the oppressed. On the one hand, we have these people, and on the other, we have freedom fighters who the majority of India hates, such as Dr. Ambedkar, Jyotiba Phule, Savitri Bai Phule. These are the folk that India hates because they do not belong to the caste that they consider is worthy, because these are untouchables. We are untouchables. And if we fight for freedom, then it's not freedom. It's not considered as a good thing. It's considered as nepotism in the minds of the general population. This is why there is so much hatred against affirmative action for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes who are the untouchables of India. Even Nehru, the progressive prime minister of India, he hesitated and he hated people, especially Dalits, asserting themselves, and he critiqued that reservations will not promote merit. And we have Gandhi, who opposed separate electorates for the Dalits. These are the men, these are the people that the general public praises and considers them as freedom fighters. Now, why is this? Why does the general population see that fighting for equality of the marginalized is considered as inequality? Because it all again leads back to the caste system. In the caste system, we have the ones who are superior, and there are those at the bottom, and then the untouchables. What happened is the ones who are on the top, at the top of the hierarchy, are the Brahmins, who traditionally occupy the highest status. Their concept of freedom, however, is fundamentally misunderstood, and therefore they perpetuate such systems of oppression. And they created graded inequality by using Hindu scriptures. They justify the caste system. They use books such as Manusmriti, which prescribe specific duties and privileges for each caste. Brahmins, considered the priestly caste, were given privileges that ensured their dominance over other castes. This historical backdrop has profoundly shaped the understanding of freedom among the so called upper caste. Now, along with this, Brahmins and other upper castes often, I mean, not often, but most of the time, almost all the time, internalize a sense of inherited superiority. They think that they are superior beings because they are born in so and so higher or upper caste, and they view themselves as naturally entitled to their elevated status. And this kind of mindset inhibits them and their ability to empathize with those who are being oppressed, the untouchables. And thereby, this distorts their understanding of freedom. They think true freedom involves inequality and disrespect towards those who are inferior to them. And when faced with the principles of equality and freedom, the upper caste experience cognitive dissonance. What they're gonna say is when you point out that there are these power dynamics and they should consider and you should consider that this is wrong. What happens is they experience a cognitive dissonance because in their mind, India is a country of democracy where every human being, every single human in India is treated equally and there are no problems. This is the idea of India that they have internalized. And when you point out that these particular groups are doing injustice to the human beings that they see as inferior, they will experience cognitive dissonance and they start coming up with all kinds of bullshit that they can come up with in order to excuse their behavior. They even rationalize caste systems, such as when Gandhi justified the caste system, Ambedkar defied against it and lectured him why it is bad. Even after that, Gandhi did not change his views. This is a kind of freedom that the majority of India praises. Isn't it great? And then, if we look at the social and cultural dimensions, from a young age, the so called upper caste or Brahmins are socialized to accept the caste hierarchy as a natural order. They are taught cultural and religious traditions that reinforce these beliefs, and it makes them difficult to question or understand the concept of freedom at all. And they see these privileged positions that they hold, they view their privileged positions as a deserved reward rather than an unjust advantage. And most of the upper caste equate their control over the so called lower caste and untouchables with freedom, misunderstanding the true nature of liberty. They don't think that true freedom involves living without oppression and allowing others to live without oppression. Their perceived freedom is actually a form of privilege maintained through the subjugation of others. And this is very crucial to understand. There is a crucial distinction between freedom and privilege. Freedom means the absence of oppression and the ability to live one's lives one's life with dignity. Privilege, on the other hand, is an unearned advantage that comes at the expense of others. And upper caste mistake their privilege for freedom, failing to realize that true freedom cannot exist without equality. This is why the so called upper caste who work for NGOs, when brought up their caste into question, they say, I want the Dalit children to have the same privileges as me. It doesn't make sense to me because you see that as freedom. You define what freedom is to the people by that, to people that having whatever you have, the generational wealth, the caste privilege, whatever you have, is through oppressing others. You do not realize that. So you think these are good qualities, you think these are good things in your life, and you try to apply the same thing to the untouchables. And this is where I differ mostly, because you never understood what freedom meant. If you understood it, you would fight for the freedom for others. This is why Dr. Ambedkar, Phule, and Savitribai, they fought against these structures. They fought against the oppressive structures of caste. Because why? I'm going to quote a theologian. He says this: the liberated, the free, are the ones who define the meaning of their being in terms of the oppressed of the land by participating in their liberation, fighting against everything that opposes integral humanity. Only the oppressed are truly free. He then says, freedom is the opposite of oppression, but only the oppressed are truly free. Being human means being against evil by joining sides with those who are the victims of evil. Quite literally, it means becoming oppressed with the oppressed, making their cause one's own cause by involving oneself in the liberation struggle. No one is free until all are free. And he also says, inherent in freedom is a recognition that there is something wrong with the society, and those who are free will not be content until all members of society are treated as persons. I can go on with these quotes, but my point is, whoever you think are the freedom fighters, whoever the general population thinks are the freedom fighters, they never understood what freedom is. Instead, they opposed freedom in not prioritizing Dalits and Adivasis, the untouchables, the most oppressed. Instead of prioritizing these people, they instead focused on power, focused on greed, focused on political ambitions. That's all they had in their mind. They will not be able to understand freedom until they look through the lives of the oppressed. And this is why people constantly say that reservations for the Dalits is favoritism. It's favoring them. Instead of seeing the inequality, instead of seeing that we are not equal, people tend to think that we have the so called privileges. Because for you, whatever you have had through your caste privilege, through your generational wealth, it isn't earned by you, and you think that is right, and you think that all came by hard work. And when people are treated equally by positively discriminating them or through affirmative action, you think that's not equality, you think that's oppression. That is the difference between the freedom fighters, the majority things, and those other people they hate. They hate Dr. Ambedkar, they hate Phule, they hate Savitribai because these people fought against the oppressive structures, and they are truly free. That's why they were able to fight against the oppressive structures. And others will not. Because they never understood what freedom was, because they have never been under oppression. Well, I hope that if you are an oppressed person, you will know what what are the struggles that we have to go through. And if you are oppressor or upper caste or someone who belongs to Brahmin caste, Reddy, Kama, Kapu, Baniya, or Vaishya, please try to understand that even you yourself are not free. You do not understand what freedom is. If you do not understand equality, if you do not see that freedom means everyone should be equal. And this is what I would like to say. All right. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day ahead, or evening, or whatever.